Yes, it's time for another action camera review, and this time it's the turn of the GoPro HERO12. Let's see if GoPro can take the fight back to DJI. The HERO12's announcement comes around a month after DJI brought out its Osmo Action 4, and so expectations for the new GoPro had been running high. Rumours abound on the internet about 1-inch sensors, bezel-less rear touchscreen, as well as a front touchscreen, and maybe even a new mounting system to match DJI's magnetic one, none of which became a reality. So what's new on the GoPro HERO12? The headline feature is better battery life, but there are new imaging features such as HDR, GP log, and you can also now connect Bluetooth headphones to the camera and use them as a remote microphone as well. Significantly, there's the Max Lens Mod 2.0, which can give up to 177 degrees angle of view. Now, the Max Lens Mod 2.0 is important in more than one way, not only because of the capabilities it gives the camera in terms of angle of view for POV, but in terms of what it might mean for a forthcoming Max 362 camera, which we now know is on the way. Now, one of the first things you'll notice when you turn on the HERO12 is the new interface. Now, in some ways it is a better design, but I also feel that it's taken away in other areas. For example, when you set up a picture preset, you can also set up quick access icons for various settings such as white balance and your virtual lens setting. Now, on the HERO11 you also had the ability to set up a speed icon as well, so you could quickly change frame rates, but for some reason this has been taken away as an option on the HERO12. Hopefully that will come back in a firmware update. Maybe it's just been one of those omissions that just hasn't got noticed yet, but I really hope they bring that back because I used that feature quite a lot. In general though, the interface is responsive. It feels very similar to the HERO11. The innards of the HERO12 are basically the same camera, although the GPS has been taken out for the HERO12. Now, GoPro say that not many people were using the GPS feature of the camera, so it has been taken out on the new model. There are some good touches with the new interface. For example, if you go into the settings menu, you can find out the status of your SD card and see at a glance how much footage has been uploaded to the cloud and what hasn't. And you also have the option of deleting footage that has already been uploaded to the cloud and clear that space on your SD card. Now, one of the most interesting things about the HERO12 for me is the new Max Lens Mod 2.0, which upgrades the capabilities of the original Max Lens Mod by giving a 177 degree angle of view and 4K recording with full horizon leveling. The original Max Lens Mod suffered from a lot of problems with water retention when you were using it for water sports. Lots of droplets would form on it, which meant that I didn't use it as much as I would have liked to have done. The new Max Lens Mod has a hydrophobic coating, much like the normal lens protector on the camera, and it also upgrades that angle of view to 177 degrees, which is almost one half of a 360 camera, but I'll come to that in just a moment. There are currently a few limitations with the Max Lens Mod 2.0. One of them is that, strangely, you can't use the new GP log picture profile. Now, the reasons for this aren't entirely clear, but you can get around it. If you use the Labs firmware, you can enable the log B setting. Set this to 400 and you effectively have an equivalent of the GP log mode with your Max Lens Mod 2.0. You can also reduce the noise reduction down to 0 if you want to get much more shadow detail, and you can also increase the bitrate of the recording to take account of that increased noise in the image. Now, for POV, I have found the Max Lens Mod 2.0 to be great. That 177 degree angle of view is fantastic, although you do have to be careful about how you angle it. If you angle it too low, you can end up with a very weird warped look to your image. So if you're using it for POV, you kind of want to have it mounted so that it's level. Any sort of deviation from that and you can get some unusual looking effects, although if you want to get creative, maybe that's what you might want to do. Another thing you have to be careful of when using the new Max Lens Mod is whether you want to be using it continuously for the day. Now, when I've been using it for water sports, I found that when I've been changing it over back to the standard lens protector, I've got to be careful about moisture because some of that can get inside the standard lens protector, and then when the camera heats up, it means that it fogs up the lens. So it's something to be aware of and something to be careful of. it isn't the most practical of things to be doing, changing these two over. So in general, I'd recommend deciding what you're going to use for the day and then sticking with it. And if you have another GoPro, if you're lucky enough to have another GoPro, then you can use that for your more standard shots. Now, the HDR mode on the camera works pretty well. It's not HDR in terms of being designed to be output to an HDR television set, but what it does is it combines two different exposures from two different frames into one final image. Now, you can't use HDR mode in all frame rates because it's combining two frames together, so you're not going to be able to use 60 or 120 frames per second modes with HDR on the HERO12, but it does work pretty well. It makes a noticeable difference in high contrast situations, such as inside a car or when you're shooting into backlit situations. Now, another option you have in terms of capturing the maximum dynamic range possible for grading later is the GP log mode. Now, this is new to GoPro. It is different from the old flat profile. You are limited to a maximum ISO of 400, and GoPro has also supplied a LUT that you can use in software such as DaVinci Resolve. Now, the LUT is designed to be used with the auto white balance setting, although I have found that it works pretty well even if I set the white balance manually. It's great that action cameras are now having these features because it means they can be integrated into workflows with larger cameras. You know, GoPros and the DJI cameras are used on professional shoots. They're used as stunt cameras or mounted into positions where you just simply can't get a full-size camera or even a mirrorless camera. So having these options available is a really good thing indeed. Speaking of professional features, if you're using multiple HERO12s, they can also now be timecode synced together, and this is obviously going to make life a lot easier if you're doing multicam editing within your editing software. Now, I'm afraid the same can't be said for the Bluetooth mic connection. Okay, this is a test of the audio from my Bluetooth earphones. Let's see how this sounds. It's kind of useful. Some people might get some use out of it. For example, you can mount the camera outside on your car and then record your voice from inside the car. That's great and all well and good, but the quality isn't very good. You wouldn't use it for any kind of professional application. I would much rather see GoPro make inroads into getting a connection to a professional wireless mic system. Other new features of the HERO12 include the new interval photo mode. Now, this is different from time-lapse. The time-lapse mode was designed to get a consistent exposure over multiple shots, whereas a new interval mode has been designed to capture each individual photograph using its own individual exposure and settings that are fine-tuned to that particular moment in time. So if you are the kind of person who is more interested in the stills capability of these cameras, you might want to be capturing stills for social media and the video aspect might not interest you, then the HERO12 is the camera to get because of that 27 megapixel sensor and the ability to take interval photos at down to half a second intervals. I've got some pretty neat results from it, and you can get quite creative. You can obviously pull stills from your video, which is still great, but if you want the highest quality and the highest resolution possible, then the interval photo mode is the way to go. And of course, this stills capability is one of the advantages that the GoPro still has over rival cameras. Now, as I said at the head of this video, battery life on the HERO12 is one of the headline new features. Now, in some of the normal frame rate modes, such as 24p and 30p, there are some small gains, but they're not as much as you'll get in the high frame rate mode, such as 120p. Now, of course, if you're just going to leave the camera sat in a warm studio, then you're not going to get much extra advantage out of this. But out here, when you use it in an environment where there's airflow going over it and maybe it's getting splashed with water, then of course you are going to notice those differences in battery life. But for me, it doesn't really make that much difference because I'm never going to leave the camera running for long periods of time at 120 frames per second. Now, I know people have contacted me in the past when I've spoken about this, saying that they do leave the camera in 120p for extended periods of time, and that's fine, but that's a very niche use. It's not really what these modes were designed for. If you're going to be capturing at that kind of frame rate, you're generally going to be doing it in short bursts, or at least the majority of people are. Now, the big question is, should you upgrade to the HERO12? Now, you're not really expected to upgrade every single year. You don't have have to upgrade your action camera every single year. The HERO12 offers a lot for people who are power users, who want to grade their footage and manipulate it in post. There are some more simple modes for people who want to go straight to vertical video, for example, to social media. You can now film vertical video straight into the camera using that 8x7 sensor, so you don't have to reorientate it. But for the most part, I feel that the HERO12 is more of an upgrade for people who are power users, who might want to use the timecode features, who want to grade their footage. But if you're not into that kind of thing and you already have a HERO11, the HERO12 probably isn't going to be much of an upgrade for you. The bigger question is, how does it fare against DJI's Action 4? Now, the Action 4 is an extremely good action camera, and I really like that magnetic mount system. I really hoped that GoPro would have changed the mount system for this year to something like that to make things much faster. So does the HERO12 have what it takes to compete against that camera? Well, they're both exceptionally good cameras. If you're using a DJI drone, for example, then it makes sense to have an Action 4 because the colour science is going to match much more easily. Likewise, if you're invested into the GoPro system and you want to match to existing GoPro cameras, again because of things like the colour science, then the HERO12 is going to be the camera to go for. The Action 4 also has convenient features like the fast charging, which the GoPro still doesn't have, unfortunately. Please, GoPro, get this sorted, get this integrated into the camera. We need to see this kind of stuff. Now, each camera does have its advantages and disadvantages. The Action 4 isn't so great for stills. It maxes out at 10 megapixels, so if stills are your thing, then the HERO12 is going to be the way to go. Also, if you want the widest possible field of view, then the HERO12 does have that advantage with the Max Lens Mod 2.0. Now, don't get me wrong, the 155-degree POV that you can get with the Action 4 is absolutely superb. I love that wide-angle view on the DJI camera, but the Max Lens Mod 2 takes it to another level, although I have found that despite the increased scratch resistance of the Max Lens Mod 2.0, I have still managed to scratch it, which has taken the hydrophobic coating off in that particular area, and now I get droplets of water forming, so that's a bit irritating. So you do have to be careful not to damage this particular mod. But having said that, the FOV that you can get with this new Max Lens Mod is absolutely superb. I absolutely love it. I also really like the 8x7 mode on the Hero. It means that I can film and I can reframe quite easily from 5.3K of resolution later. It makes it super convenient, and for POV I'll often film using the 8x7 mode and then use the lens dewarper within Resolve to expand that image out to get rid of the distortion and also still keep a really wide FOV as well. So I do like the versatility of the GoPro still. Now, the other ace up GoPro sleeve is the Labs firmware, and this gives you ultimate control over the camera, and if you're a power user, then this is the camera that you want. You can set every aspect of it, including defining your own log profiles, getting the camera to be triggered by motion. The list is exceptionally long, and it's a level of control that you just don't get with any other action camera. But if you're not going to use these in-depth settings, then the HERO12 perhaps doesn't offer you that much over last year's HERO11. Now, if you're upgrading from a camera like the HERO7 and 8 and 9, then the 12 will represent a big upgrade for you. But my feeling is that much of the past year's development at GoPro has been focused on the new Max 360 camera, which Nick Woodman announced is on its way. Now, the Max Lens Mod 2.0 is interesting in this regard because if you think about it, a 177-degree angle of view is pretty much half of a 360 camera. This gives some intriguing possibilities. Could it be that the new Max 360 camera will be able to do 4K over captured video? If it can, this is going to be something that a lot of 360 camera enthusiasts have been waiting for a long time, and it will represent a significant boost in quality over existing consumer 360 cameras. My feeling is that the Max Lens Mod 2.0 was a side result of the development of the new Max 360 camera. Now, I don't know that for certain, but that's just my hunch, and it could be that next year's GoPro is the leap that people have been waiting for. I think the GP2 is being pushed with this 4K on the new Max Lens Mod 2.0, so I think it stands to reason that we might well see a new processor next year. We'll have to wait and see. Which camera you decide is for you will depend entirely on your own personal circumstances and how you want to use the camera. It's not as simple as saying that the Action 4 is better than the GoPro or the GoPro is better than the Action 4. It's much much more complicated than that, because each of these cameras has their own individual capabilities and advantages and disadvantages. What I would say is that the Hero 12 does represent an exceptionally good example of an action camera. I find it absolutely incredible that we have the quality that we do in this size of camera these days, and the capabilities are just getting better and better, and indeed the competition between the two companies just means it's better for us as consumers. So in conclusion, the Hero 12 is a great action camera. It probably doesn't represent the leap that many people are hoping for or expecting, but features such as the Max Lens Mod 2.0 make it worthwhile for people like me who want that ultimate POV.